Good morning, welcome back to Football League World TV. It's the start of another week, so it's time for the weekend review. I'm your host, George Dagless, and joining me this morning, Billy Mulley. Billy, how you getting on?
Doing well, thank you. Yeah, a good few games to get through this morning, so I'm looking forward to getting going.
Yeah, international break come to an end last week. Full fixture list on offer over the weekend, Championship, League One and League Two. So plenty to get our teeth stuck into. Before we do that, just a quick shout. Do get in touch. Let us know what games you're at, what you watched over the weekend. Let us know your thoughts on how your team got on. Let's get straight into the Championship action. We're going to start with Huddersfield's win over West Brom. Daniel Sinani gave the Terriers victory early on, scored in the 6th minute. West Brom couldn't get back into it. Jake Livermore got a red card towards the end of the game as well. Billy, you look at just how the Championship table looks at the moment, and that was a result that West Brom really could have done without.
100%. I think what we spoke about at the start of the season was West Brom on the level of Fulham and Bournemouth. They were competing with them, and in terms of points, they were close to them as well. And then the sort of second development was there being a gap between sort of Fulham, Bournemouth, then West Brom, then the rest of the division, and now they've been really dragged back down into sort of the playoff pack that's emerging in the Championship. So yeah, it's a result that it really puts them within those sorts of teams like Stoke, Coventry, even Huddersfield as well, in terms of teams that will be hoping to get promotion this season, hoping to get into the playoff mix. And yeah, I think West Brom have struggled massively in recent weeks, and something needs to change because obviously it's not working at the moment. I think that their lack of plan B for me has been a big problem with them all season. It seems that Ishmael's not too. He's a bit too reluctant, I think, to change his system, tweak things that obviously went well with Barnsley and LASK as well when he was boss there. But I think he needs to sort of adapt to the situation that's at hand at the moment. It's not going as well as it should be with the squad at his disposal, and I think we've seen that again against Huddersfield.
Obviously, they're 8 points now off the top two. Do you think they're going to start thinking, well, we need to just secure a top 6 place and have done with for this season? Can you rule them out of the top 2 race at this stage? It's still quite early in terms of that respect. But obviously, you look at the way Bournemouth. Yes, they've had a little bit of a blip, which we'll get onto in a minute. But Bournemouth have been very good so far this season. Fulham are in great form. It's kind of hard to see how those two teams drop that many points at the moment.
100%. I can't see Fulham dropping anything. I could see them going on to break points records. I think they're looking unbelievable at the moment, and if they can sustain that, if they keep Mitrovic, then that's going to be a big factor. I think in terms of Bournemouth, they had a little bit of a collapse at this point last year as well. They were looking very, very strong, and then the run up to Christmas sort of killed any momentum off, and then they were left fighting for a top 6 space. So I think they'll have to be wary of that. Whereas West Brom obviously got their own problems at the moment, and 8 points is a lot of points at this stage. And at the moment, it's just about stopping this sort of inconsistency and getting back onto some sort of winning run or unbeaten run. I think having Moat back will be a big help. Obviously, he wasn't too involved in this game. I think once he gets back to full fitness and once he gets back to doing what he does best, and then I think that's when West Brom can go on and start progressing again.
As for Huddersfield, that result leaves them 7th in the Championship table, just the 1 point outside the playoffs. It's a result that was needed, really, wasn't it? But they lost the last game before that, drawn as well before that as well. Just a reminder that I guess for them that they are genuine contenders for the playoffs this year.
100%, yeah, and they'll be disappointed with the 2 results coming into this game because they have proven to be a difficult team to beat this season, and they have been a side that have been creating the chances to win games as well. So I have been quite impressed with Huddersfield, and it was another impressive display against West Brom. I know West Brom have their own problems at the moment, but to beat West Brom is still some sort of an achievement because of the players they do possess, the quality they do have, and West Brom might not be at it fully at the moment, but they're still a very good Championship side, if that makes sense. And I think the way they've done it as well, sometimes when you score as early as the 6th minute and you have to play a team like West Brom, who obviously got the attacking talents that they do possess, it's quite difficult to keep them out. And I think from what I've seen in terms of the highlights, Huddersfield had the better opportunities to add a second and kill the game off that way. So I think it's from what I've heard and from what I've seen, it was a really good defensive display against a team. We've got players like Carl and Grant, Grady Diangana, who can hurt you at any given moment. So I think that's going to be key if Huddersfield are going to, if they're going to maintain this sort of form, if they're going to maintain a playoff push. And I think keeping clean sheets like that is pivotal.
Yeah, certainly a good result for the Terriers. As mentioned, that leaves them in 7th. In the Championship table, West Brom currently sitting 3rd, 8 points off the top 2. Up next, we'll talk Preston North End's loss at home to Cardiff City. Sean Maguire did put the men from Deepdale on the way to a victory early on, 2 minutes in, but Mark McGuinness and James Collins in the second half turned things on their head and turned things in their favour. In terms of the Bluebirds. Billy, let's come to Cardiff first of all. That's a couple of wins now on the spin. It seems like Steve Morrison's having a good time of it in charge at the moment.
Yeah, it's back-to-back wins for the first time this season for Cardiff. So yeah, it's all sort of looking rosy at the moment. Start to climb out that rot that they were in terms of the winless run that they were on. Morrison's come in and he's doing a good job at the moment, and it's good to see because Cardiff, when they were in that slump, you always thought they've got the players, they've got the squad to get out of it. They just needed that confidence instilled back into them. So it seems that's what Morrison is doing at the moment. In terms of quality in the match, I think there wasn't too much. It was 3 set pieces that ultimately led to the 3 goals. But yeah, that's what it's about for Cardiff at the moment. It's about winning these games and getting that momentum back, and then they can start to gradually bring the football back and start to go from there. Seeing James Collins score was good for them. A player that I think the general consensus around him is that he started well in terms of his contributions, but obviously hasn't scored for a while. So getting that goal, hopefully that can help kick him on. A player that likes to score against Preston from what he did with Luton as well. So hopefully that can be the start of him thriving in the Cardiff City shirt in front of goal. And yeah, I think Cardiff are a side that are definitely, given the tight nature of the Championship, that they're not out of contention for playoffs if they can continue in the way that they're going at the moment.
Yeah, they're certainly looking in a little bit better shape, at least, than they were towards the end of Mick McCarthy's reign. I think that's fair to say. As for Preston, yes, they're higher in the league table than Cardiff at the moment, but that might not be the case for too much longer. They've lost their last 2 games, and it always seems that, or there has been recently at Preston, a little bit of an undercurrent that Frankie McAvoy is never too far away from being under pressure and being sort of questioned over whether he's going to be in the job for much longer. That seems to be the case again, doesn't it, Billy, after this weekend? They've got Middlesbrough coming up. That's a tough game, obviously, with Chris Wilder there now. What case can you make for McAvoy keeping his job at the moment? What does he need to do to try and keep those that are questioning him at bay for now?
It's a position where it's getting a little bit like Neil Warnock at Middlesbrough, where they could win sort of 2 or 3 on the bounce, and then one defeat puts them in the sort of slump that they found themselves in. Obviously, Neil Warnock was then relieved of his duties. So yeah, I think McAvoy's in a similar position. Obviously, had 2 very good wins, absolutely battered Luton in terms of performance, and then beat Bournemouth and deserved to inflict their first defeat of the season, and then things go bad from there. So it's quite inconsistent at the moment at Preston. Some glimpses of promise, but ultimately I don't think it's good enough at the moment. Preston shouldn't be where they are in the table. Some of the performances that shouldn't be associated with Preston, the club that we've seen in recent years. So yeah, I think McAvoy definitely is under pressure, and there seems to be constant criticism around his name and the job he's doing. So yeah, I think with them as close to the relegation zone as they are, he's always going to be under pressure. And I think the fact that they conceded 2 set pieces, they weren't beaten by overall quality, and it wasn't as if Cardiff outplayed them. I think that sometimes hurts a lot more than when you do get outplayed.
Okay, yeah. Preston's certainly got a little bit of work to do at the moment. They're sitting 16th in the Championship table on 21 points. Cardiff in 19th, 18 points. We're going to talk Derby against Bournemouth now. A little bit of a surprise for the Cherries on Sunday. That's 2 losses in the last 3. We said they're in a little bit of a blip, and it certainly looks to be like could be the case. Obviously, they were unbeaten up until that defeat at home to Preston a few weeks ago. Derby, Billy, let's talk about them first of all. They deserve immense credit given what's been going on in recent weeks. You know, they're still right up against it in terms of trying to survive from relegation this season. But if they're going to get results like that against high-flying teams like Bournemouth, then I suppose you can't write them off just yet, even if their chances of survival are pretty slim.
100%. I've been really impressed with not just the performances on the pitch, because they've been up there with some of the highest in the league in terms of performance levels, in terms of dominating matches. They've been up there with some of the best teams in the division, but it's mainly their mindset. It seems that when they've been hit with these penalties, these deductions, uncertainty about obviously their future in playing in the Derby shirt, they've come out and secured excellent results and put in excellent performances. So yeah, I think what is going on behind the scenes at Derby, obviously no one ever wants to wish that on their rivals, but the togetherness on the pitch, their performances, some of the players that are shining at the moment, is really, really good to see, and they fully deserve to beat Bournemouth in terms of the match itself. I think Tom Lawrence scoring a brace, obviously there's uncertainty about his future at Derby, but he's put in a very, very excellent performance, a captain's performance. And yeah, he's doing a really good job. And in terms of defensive too as well, they've got the experience, in Curtis Davis and Jagielka. I think that's really, really helpful, especially with a young manager like Wayne Rooney. It's good to have those leaders on the pitch, especially in these sort of uncertain times. And then we've seen Liam Thompson as well come into the game yesterday against Bournemouth, who have been excellent this season, won the majority of midfield battles, and Thompson played an excellent part in ensuring that they weren't overrunning that midfield, and certainly got a big future. So at the moment, Derby they'll have a little bit of confidence that they can stay up this season, still 15 points, which is obviously a massive gap at this point in the season. But given the way they've gone about their business since their points deductions, I think they'll try and take it all the way because they've got the quality in that squad.
Yeah, certainly doing all they can. A good win over Bournemouth on Sunday. As for the Cherries, Billy, I guess this is the sort of blip that can happen to any side in the Championship. Very few teams go a whole season without one, given the nature of the league. I guess it's the most important thing is that they snap out of it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I guess a good thing with Bournemouth is that they've lost 2 games in quite quick succession. If this is the bad form, they're still 8 points clear of West Brom in third, who are obviously not in the best of form themselves. In terms of the teams below them, I'm not too sure if any of them can go on too good of a run to sort of to destroy their early dominance. I think Stoke without Sutar and Powell might struggle a little bit for regularity in results, and Coventry, I'm not too sure if they can maintain it. Huddersfield's again a team that we have to see if they can sort of get on that kind of winning run. So from a Bournemouth perspective, they won't be too disheartened at the moment. They'll be wary about what happened last season in terms of going on that kind of poor run of form, and that not fully disrupting their season, but it took them from looking at the automatic places to looking at just securing a playoff spot. So they'll be wary of what happened last season. But with Gary Cahill in the squad now, I think he's a presence that will help them get out of a rut if they do find themselves in one. And I think they just came up against a really good team in Derby, a together team, a side that will, I can imagine, go on to get some very good points this season at Pride Park because of the way they play. Obviously had that Roos mistake, which could have changed the whole complex of the game, but that's just the nature of the way Derby play, and they reacted really well to that. So yeah, I think Bournemouth, it wasn't too concerning of a performance in my eyes. It was just coming up against a side that were really up for it, and a side that will go on to get some really important points against teams in the top end of the division, I think.
Yeah, no, a bit of a surprise for Bournemouth, but certainly a good result for Derby. That one leaves them bottom. The Rams, 0 points at the moment, but they'll certainly be looking to get back into positive territory now and kick on up. Well, kick up close to those above them in the league table as soon as they can. As for Bournemouth, sitting second now after that defeat. One final game to talk about in the Championship from the weekend. That's Fulham's 4-1 victory over Barnsley. Billy, Fulham top now in the Championship, and they're in sensational form at the moment, aren't they?
They're brilliant at the moment. Joy to watch. They're just blowing teams away at the moment, so it feels bad to say, but a 4-1 result, I don't think that's actually too bad on Barnsley. The way they've been destroying teams and I think with Mitrovic in such good form as well. Obviously, there's speculation about his future with stories coming out today about where he could possibly be going off to. So I have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, at the moment, I can't see anybody matching them. They played Bournemouth right now. I still expect a Fulham convincing win because of just the quality throughout that they've got. I've said in previous shows that Mitrovic is obviously a quality player, but the service he gets makes him that even better. And I think that's a common theme that we're seeing this year. Like Harry Wilson, Reed and Cabano all operating just behind him are just excellent players that will continue feeding him. And that's why I don't think if he was to depart, I don't think that would be lost, because Rodrigo Muniz has obviously been learning from what Mitrovic has been doing in terms of his positioning in the box. And I think that can continue in what remains of the season if he does depart. But yeah, at the moment, I don't think anyone can touch Fulham.
No, it's certainly looking good right now. Wayne Walden's got in touch on YouTube. Wheels are starting to wobble on the Bournemouth bus. Come on, Fulham, we'll win the league. Now, I guess, Billy, you have to think about what could stop Fulham winning the league, or certainly winning promotion at the moment. The only suggestion I would put forward is a massive injury crisis, and it would have to be a really serious one because of the depth of their squad.
100%, yeah. You think of the players that they do have in depth. See, likes of Kearney, Carvalho coming back into things. Sort of Chalobah as well, even their defensive options, Tim Ream and Tosin as well. Then behind that, they've got some excellent options in Hector and Mawson. So they're a team that probably their second string 11 could go on and win this league as well, because it's that good. And they're a side that I don't think will be too, well, yeah, as you say, if it was a massive injury crisis where sort of you're talking up to 8 to 10 players, then yeah, that could perhaps stop their momentum at the moment. But apart from that, I can't really see what's gonna stop Fulham.
Yeah, they're certainly flying along at the moment. Fulham sitting top now after that win over Barnsley. The Tigers are in 23rd. Let's move into League One now. Let's talk Sunderland's 2-0 win over Ipswich. Billy, this was much needed, wasn't it, for the Black Cats? Given how, given the form they were in, the pressure that was seemingly starting to build on Lee Johnson, and obviously Ipswich have really kind of clicked, it seems, in recent weeks. They've managed to climb themselves up the league table, and I think a fair amount of people probably would have expected an away victory this weekend, but Sunderland sort of rose to the occasion and got a big 3 points on the board.
Yeah, I was certainly one of those that was expecting an away win. I had Ipswich to win as one of my value bets on the betting show, so that was not the best idea in hindsight. But yeah, I think with Sunderland, it's not that it wasn't the fact that they were losing games; it was that they lost 3 games quite convincingly in terms of results and performance. You think back to Rotherham 5-1, they were completely outplayed, and it just didn't seem right because of how good they had been this season and sort of the route that they were on. It seemed that it was only upwards from there. Another team like Fulham that have got a lot of strength in depth, but yeah, somehow things started to change. But yeah, it's a really important result. I think it gets them back on track. Lee Johnson, I think, has had a tendency in the past, I think, when thinking of when he was at Bristol City as well, of starting the season off quite well and then tailing off. So it's quite good to see that it hasn't sort of gone that way again. Ipswich, as you say, a very, very good side. Another team, as we say, they have strength in depth. A team on the up. Paul Cook's doing a really, really good job in turning sort of their fortune so far this season. And I still expect them to go on and do good things this season. In terms of the game, seemed like quite a well contested one. Only really coming to life at the end where Sunderland got the 2 goals and took the game away from Ipswich. But yeah, they won't be too disheartened, Ipswich. But at the same time, Sunderland will be quite content. I think if they win their games in hand, they could go back to the top of the table. So yeah, it's quite positive that they're back on track. But it's just making sure that they maintain that as the season progresses.
Yeah, certainly a good result for Sunderland. Moves them to 6th in the League One table. They'll be looking to climb back up towards the top 2. As for Ipswich, they're currently sitting 10th in the League One table. After that result, they'll be looking to get back to winning ways. With another big game for them in midweek, they're playing Rotherham United. Elsewhere in League One, one other game that we'll touch on in depth is Charlton's win over Plymouth. Billy, they had the Fill the Valley initiative at Charlton, try and pack out the valley, fill it full of Charlton supporters, and it seemed to have an impact with them getting a very good result against a Plymouth team that's obviously been going along very nicely so far this season.
I think, yeah, fair enough to Charlton for filling the valley, and fair enough to Plymouth as well. I think they brought around 3,000 to the valley, which is a long old trip for Plymouth fans, especially when you don't see your team win as well. But yeah, Charlton, another very, very good result, 13 points from possible 15. And you think about the run that they have been on. For some very difficult teams they've had to play, likes of obviously Plymouth, who are top of the table, Rotherham, who are probably most informed team at the moment, Sunderland as well. That was, I think, what started their sort of rocky period off. So Charlton have come out of that excellently, and I say Rotherham were the form team in the division. I think it's hard to argue that Charlton are not now. I think what we said about Charlton when they were near the bottom of the table is that they've got a very strong squad. They just need that confidence instilled back into them, and it seems that they've finally got that. Elliot Lee as well, player that I've watched a lot over the years at Luton, is come in, and he's been quality. I think all the fans on Twitter crying out for him to sign a permanent deal now. I think that'd be excellent for them because of the influence he's had as well. Ben Purriton again turning into a goal scoring left back. I think that's 3 and 4 for him now as well. So yeah, it's all seeming to be pointing up. They're on that upwards trajectory. 9 points from the playoffs, which they won't be too concerned about because the rate that they're going in, they'll make that up by Christmas. It seems it's all sort of seeming to be pointing in one direction at the moment.
Yeah, Charlton's certainly looking a lot more like the team that we perhaps expected them to be at the start of this season. As for Plymouth, Billy, just their second loss of the year so far. They remain top of the league. No real need to panic, is there? There's going to be results like this along the way.
Yeah. I think, as we said there, it's probably the most difficult place to go to at the moment, the Valley. I think that's their first loss in 17 since the opening day of the season. So no cause for concern. Still another performance that suggests that they're going to be up there come the end of the season. The way they play, the sort of turning defence into attack as quickly as they do. Ryan Lowe, I think, is doing a very, very good job there. So yeah, in terms of there being a cause for concern, I don't think there is. They're a side that should be up there come the end of the season. I think the only worry is January transfer window. And I think we've seen that Kamara has attracted a little bit of interest. Jeff Cott as well. Sometimes he's attracted interest during the windows. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can keep that core squad together because they do have some players that could be on their way to the Championship or even higher in January. So if they can manage to come out of that with the majority of their core squad together, yeah, I expect big things from them still.
Yeah, still overall looking good for Plymouth, sitting top of the League One table despite that result at Charlton. Charlton up to 12th. Let's move into League Two then. Before we leave you this morning, let's talk Harrogate's defeat at home to Salford City. First of all, Billy, Matty Lund and Jason Lowe got the goals for Salford. It was a performance and a result that I guess we would have expected to have seen more of from Salford so far this season. It's been very difficult. There's been rumours that Gary Bowyer is under pressure at Salford, as we so often see the case with them in recent years. Their managers do come under pressure quite quickly, but that should probably be at least a stay of execution for a little bit for him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, as you say. I think what previous managers that have come under this form have tended to be sacked or part company either way. So it'll be interesting to see how Bowyer gets on in terms of how long he's afforded the job, and if he can sort of turn Salford into this sort of mid-table side into a playoff chasing team as the season progresses, because obviously they've got the squad to do that. They've got ambition, all through the club. So yeah, I think in terms of a result to change things, I think this could be the one that they're looking at and thinking we can progress from here. I think it's only 6 points from the playoffs, really tight nature, similar to the Championship around the playoff positions. So I think that there's every chance that they can kick on from this point. I think it's just quite interesting from their point of view. It's a good win against a Harrogate side that have been very good this season. A side that have been good on home soil. Sorry. So yeah, I'm interested to see how Salford keep going this season, and if that win is the start of breaking into become a playoff pushing team.
Yeah, I certainly hope they can get on a little bit of a run now and put the sort of first third of the season behind them. They'll be looking to kick on up the table. They're sitting 16th currently in League Two. As for Harrogate, still in the playoff places, sitting 7th. But they do want to try and get back to the earlier form that they had this year. They've lost 3 of their last 4 now in the 4th tier. And finally, we'll come to Mansfield's 3-1 victory over Scunthorpe United. A much-needed win again, Billy, for Mansfield. That's 3 on the bounce now. They're opening up a little bit of a gap towards those places down in the bottom, and obviously beating a team in Scunthorpe that are firmly in the relegation zone at the moment.
Yeah, a good win for Mansfield. Obviously, they're 3 successive wins that haven't come up against the best of sides. I think Stevenage during this period, I think it was Ravel's last game in charge. So yeah, it was a good time to play them. Scunthorpe obviously haven't kicked on at all this season, sitting bottom of the table. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how Mansfield gets on their next 2 games. They haven't been as good away from home, so 2 tough away games in Sutton and Crawley coming up. So I think that would be a bigger indication as to where they are as a team. But they'll take a lot of confidence from this. Obviously, going into any game with 3 games, 3 games winning, your tails will be up. You'll be confident. So yeah, it'll be a good test for Mansfield coming up to see if they've definitely cleared the relegation places that they've seemingly moving away from at the moment. In terms of Scunthorpe, they're just struggling massively to win away from home. Obviously 1-0 up in this game as well, so they'll be even more disappointed that they let a lead slip like this. And they've got tough fixtures coming up as well, so it's quite difficult to see where things will get better for them. 3 points from survival, which obviously is not too bad, but they've got a very, very poor goal difference, worst in the league by far. So that could be key in what is expected to be a relegation sort of season for them, a season where they're expected to be in and around the relegation zone.
Yeah, certainly still lots of work to do for Keith Hill and co at Glanford Park. They're sitting 24th in the League Two table at the moment. As for Mansfield, things are looking up a little bit more now, sitting 17th, and interestingly, only 6 points off of Harrogate in 7th. So that just shows you how congested it is in the League Two playoff places at the moment. Right, just before we leave you, time to tell you what's coming up on Football League World TV today. At 12:30, we've got the debate, who are the top 3 best League One central midfielders. Ned Holmes will be hosting that one. He's joined by Chris Thorpe and Marcus Alley. Then at 4 o'clock, we've got the EFL Transfer Zone, looking at the latest transfer headlines concerning clubs in the EFL. Sam Rourke hosting that one. He's joined by Adam Jones and Ben Wignall. Just before we leave as well, would like to ask you to subscribe to the YouTube channel Football League World TV. That would be greatly appreciated, and do like this video on YouTube as well. That would also be muchly appreciated. But for myself and Billy, it's bye for now.